The Mangatepopo Gorge Flood. On April 15, 2008, a group of students and teachers from Elam Christian College began an outdoor education trip through the Mangatepopo Gorge in Tongariro National Park. The day started with light rain, but conditions worsened as they entered the narrow canyon. Rising water levels and strong currents made the gorge increasingly dangerous, yet the group continued forward along the planned route. As they approached a section of steep rock walls, a sudden surge of water swept through the gorge. Several students were knocked off their footing and pulled downstream. Instructors tried to form a human chain, but the torrent was too strong. Emergency services were called immediately, and rescuers searched the flooded canyon for survivors. 7 students and 1 teacher were found unresponsive. An official inquiry later confirmed that sudden flash flooding caused the tragedy and led to nationwide changes in outdoor education safety protocols. The Sewol Ferry disaster. On April 16, 2014, more than 300 students from Danwon High School boarded the MV Sewol for a school trip to Jeju Island. The ferry set off smoothly, but by morning it began to list sharply after making a sudden turn. Water flooded the lower decks as the ship tilted further. Students were ordered to stay inside their cabins while crew members attempted to stabilize the vessel. The situation deteriorated quickly as the ship rolled onto its side. Many students followed the instructions to remain where they were, unaware the ferry was moments from sinking. Rescue boats arrived but struggled to reach those trapped deep inside. As the ship slipped beneath the water, hundreds remained unable to escape. In total, 250 students died, making it one of the worst maritime disasters in South Korean history. The sinking caused national outrage, toppled officials, and overhauled ferry safety rules. The Yuba City Bus Disaster. May 21, 1976, a charter bus carrying a choir group from Yuba City High School was traveling toward a performance at Miramar Naval Air Station in California. The students were excited for the trip. As it approached a sharp curve, the driver failed to maintain control. The bus veered off the road, smashed through the guardrail, and plunged more than 20 feet into a drainage canal below. The vehicle landed on its roof, crushing the upper section and trapping dozens inside. Emergency responders arrived quickly and worked to free the injured from the twisted metal. Despite their efforts, 28 students were killed. Investigators concluded that driver fatigue and excessive speed were major factors. The crash became one of the deadliest school transportation accidents in U.S. history and led to new regulations on charter bus safety. The Kintampo Waterfall Collapse. March 19, 2017, students from Wenchi Methodist Senior High School visited the Kintampo Waterfall during a weekend excursion. The area was crowded with tourists enjoying the cool spray of the main cascade. As the students gathered beneath the falls, a loud cracking sound echoed across the ravine. Without warning, a huge tree perched above the waterfall gave way and crashed down onto the crowd below. The impact struck several students directly, pinning others under heavy branches. Panic spread as survivors attempted to pull classmates to safety. Emergency crews rushed to the scene and worked to lift the fallen tree. 18 students and a teacher lost their lives. Authorities later confirmed that recent heavy rains had weakened the roots of the tree. The tragedy led to calls for improved safety inspections at major tourist sites across Ghana. The Dabwali Fire. December 23, 1995, children, parents, and teachers gathered in a large tented structure in Dabwali, Haryana, for a school's annual prize-giving ceremony. The hall was decorated with fabric drapes, paper ornaments, and bright stage lighting. During the event, an electrical short circuit in the stage light wiring sparked a fire. Flames spread rapidly across the tent's flammable materials, creating an intense wall of heat and smoke. As the crowd rushed toward the exits, the narrow doorway became blocked by people trying to escape. Firefighters and ambulances arrived, but the scale of the disaster overwhelmed local emergency services. Hospitals struggled to treat the injured throughout the night. More than 300 people died, including over 200 children. The tragedy prompted nationwide reforms and fire safety regulations for public gatherings and temporary structures. The Cairngorm Plateau disaster. November 20th, 1971. A group of 6 school children from Ainsley Park School in Edinburgh set out on a winter expedition into the Cairngorm Mountains, accompanied by 2 young instructors from an outdoor leadership course. The plan was to cross the high plateau and spend the night in a remote mountain shelter glacier known as the Curran Bothy. As they climbed higher, the weather deteriorated rapidly. Winds intensified, visibility vanished, and temperatures plunged below freezing. The instructors decided to push on toward the Bothy, believing they were close, but in the whiteout conditions they became disoriented and drifted off course. The group fought against hurricane-force winds and deepening snowdrifts. Several students began showing signs of hypothermia, slowing the entire party. Eventually, they were forced to construct a makeshift snow shelter and huddle inside as the storm raged throughout the night. When the group failed to return, a massive search operation was launched at first light. Mountain rescue teams struggled through the same brutal conditions, eventually locating the collapsed snow hole hours later. Only 2 members of the party were still alive. 5 students and 1 instructor died from exposure, making it the deadliest mountaineering accident in British history. The Svalbard Polar Bear Attack, August 5, 2011. A group of British school students from Eton College traveled to Svalbard, Norway, as part of an adventure expedition organized by the British Schools Exploring Society. The teenagers set up camp on the remote Von Postbreen Glacier, surrounded by open Arctic terrain. During the early hours of the morning, a starving male polar bear wandered into the campsite. The group had installed tripwire alarms, but investigators later found that the device failed to trigger. The bear approached silently and tore into one of the tents while the students were still asleep inside. 17-year-old Horatio Chappell was mauled first. Other students woke to screams as the bear continued its attack. Several attempted to fight it off with their bare hands before one of the leaders managed to retrieve a rifle kept in the camp. In the chaos of the struggle, multiple students were injured. The leader fired several shots before finally killing the bear. Emergency rescue teams were flown in by helicopter, but Horatio was pronounced dead at the scene. 4 others were transported to hospital with severe injuries. An inquest later revealed that the polar bear was emaciated and desperate for food. The Lyme Bay canoeing disaster. March 22, 1993, a group of 8 teenagers from Southway Community College in Plymouth set out on a sea canoeing trip along the Dorset coast. The outing was run by an outdoor center called St. Albans Activity Center, and for many of the students, it was their first time navigating open water. The sea was calm when they launched, and the group paddled along the coastline in high spirits. As they moved farther from shore, the weather began to change. Winds strengthened and waves grew choppy, making it increasingly difficult for the teenagers to control their canoes. Several capsized in the cold water. The instructor attempted to gather the group together, but the rising swell scattered the students across the bay. One by one, the teenagers were thrown into the freezing sea. They clung to their overturned canoes, calling for help as the current dragged them further offshore. Hours passed before a fishing boat spotted one of the survivors drifting alone. Emergency services were alerted immediately, and a massive rescue operation began. Helicopters and lifeboats searched the bay, pulling students from the water in various stages of hypothermia. Despite the efforts of rescuers, 4 teenagers, all aged 15, died after being submerged in the cold sea for too long. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe for similar ones and feel free to drop suggestions for the next video in the comment section.